Chapter 20. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, and the prophet Isaiah the son of Amoz came to him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto the Lord, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And it came to pass, afore Isaiah was gone out of the middle court, that the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Turn again, and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up unto the house of the Lord. And I will add unto thy days 15 years, and I will deliver thee in this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend the city for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. And Isaiah said, Take a lump of figs. And they took and laid it in the on the boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, What shall be the sign that the Lord will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of the Lord the third day? And Isaiah said, This sign shalt thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing which he hath spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees, or go back 10 degrees? And Hezekiah answered, It is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, nay, but that the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial of Ahaz. At that time, Berodach-baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present unto Hezekiah, for he had heard that Hezekiah had been sick. And Hezekiah hearkened unto them, and shewed them all the house of his precious things, the silver and the gold, and the spices, and the precious ointment, and all the house of his armor, and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house, nor in all his dominion, that Hezekiah shewed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men, and from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from a far country, even from Babylon. And he said, What have they seen in thy house? And Hezekiah answered, All the things that are in my house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not shewed them. And Isaiah said unto Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord. Behold, thy days come, that all that is in thine house, and which thy fathers have laid up in store unto this day, shall be carried into Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And of the sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah unto Isaiah, Good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. And he said, Is it not good, if peace and truth be in my days? And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah, and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit, and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and Manasseh his son reigned in his stead. Here we see an interesting and unique, I think, situation. Hezekiah has led an active life. Certainly had interesting things happen to him with Sennacherib and 185,000 men dying out in front of the city of Jerusalem to defend Jerusalem. And he is sick unto death. And Isaiah comes to tell him that it's time to die. Time to put everything together and get it all ready. And Hezekiah weeps bitterly. He reminds the Lord through prayer that he has served him with a pure heart. And before Isaiah can get all the way back to where he's staying in the temple, the middle court is where he is, the Lord tells him to return and tell Hezekiah that his prayer has been heard, and the Lord is going to extend his life by a further 15 years. Now, getting an extension on life is got to be something that is pretty rare. It isn't for everybody. Heavenly Father knows us all very well. And I believe that unless we hasten it somehow through negligence or stupidity, most of us are going to live about the right amount of time for our lives. And we can ask for an extension, but sometimes I'm not sure that's really all that wise. That's a decision for the Lord to make, and He can say yes and He can say no. And usually I am sure that the decisions are in our eternal best interests. So we might want to stay alive, but we might, if we stay alive, we might just turn away from Him in some way, shape, or form, and that might have a negative impact on our eternity. And Hezekiah asks Isaiah, how will he know? What sign will there be that he's going to be cured and live for this 15 years? And apparently one of his predecessors, Ahaz, had invented a dial. This is the dial of Ahaz. Probably a type of sundial. And Isaiah says, well, I'll tell you what, well, just use the sundial, which you have. You can check it out and see. It can go ahead 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees. Well, if it goes ahead 10 degrees, that would indicate that time has advanced. I'm sure that when Isaiah was asking the question, he was meaning it could go ahead quickly, not just go ahead, or it could go back. And Hezekiah said, well, it's no big deal for it to go forward, because it does that anyway. But if it goes back, that is so unusual that I will understand that one is a serious sign from Heavenly Father. And so it goes back 10 degrees. Now, then we have the story, and we only have a part of the story. There's more to it. In the story, the king of Babylon sends letters to Hezekiah because he hears that Zedekiah is sick. Letters always went with ambassadors, special envoys, and these people talked to Hezekiah, and Hezekiah, the impression that we get is these people were sizing up Israel as they were checking it out to see whether it was worthwhile coming to attack the capture. And Hezekiah was silly enough to show them all the treasures of his house, and maybe, although it doesn't specifically say so here, maybe all the treasures that were in the temple. And Isaiah lets him know that that was a very foolish thing to do. That even though these people were from Babylon, and that was a long way away, that eventually Hezekiah's sons would become eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. And on all the treasures that he had shown and all the stuff that was set aside would go to Babylon, which it eventually did.